So Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors recently punched his teammate Jordan Poole, and there's some things that got me wondering about black culture. Is this professional sports culture? Is this American culture? Is this something greater? Just some thoughts coming around this from the coverage and the actual incident and the way it's been received by people and the way people are still reacting to this. This is still something relatively new that happened. I think it happened in the last week from when I'm recording this, and I want to go over the who, what, where, when, why, and hows kind of related to this to kind of make sense about what's going on here. So with the who, Draymond Green, professional basketball player in National Basketball Association, the NBA, one of the more famous people in the league right now. He plays for the Golden State Warriors, which is considered to be one of the best teams, one of the best work environments to work in, but apparently you can also get punched to this work environment, so I don't know necessarily how that figures into this whole thing. But you have this situation where the Golden State Warriors have been doing things a bit differently than other professional sports, especially in the NFL with the Los Angeles Rams recently winning, and they had a lot of transfers in. But these people actually recruited and developed the young talent, which was Draymond Green, Steph Curry, who was the most famous one, and Klay Thompson. And then with that, they brought in some few people here and there, but that's a typical thing that you do. But you core being people from inside the squad, inside the team, inside the culture. That's something that's somewhat different in the league right now. So you have that situation where they came in. Now Jordan Poole, he's part of that newer class of people coming in. Then you also have some younger people who are also being brought in, like Andrew Wiggins, who I think was on the Timberwolves first, then he went to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then he made it to Golden State. So you have this kind of situation where this is a general typical dynamic. In the NBA, in professional sports, you don't normally have long careers. Draymond Green is 32, trying to re-up on a max contract, and you have these kind of salary cap limitations or salary limitations where you can only be paid a certain maximum amount of money. I'm talking about millions, talking about I think like 30 million or something like a year in this potential contract you can get if you're with a team for a certain amount of time to incentivize people, I think, remaining with the teams that draft them or they with for some time. This is something that's actually working in that. And then you also have Jordan Poole, who's ending his rookie contract, who's also trying to re-up. So you have this situation where these are something I'd like to end here about sports commentating and just people denying the reality of the way they actually live life. Some people had been saying with the Jordan Poole situation, this might have been over money because right after, like they had a clip of right after the championship, Jordan Poole was talking to Andrew Wiggins, we're about to get that bag, we're about to get paid because we're about to get a bigger contract, and Draymond Green is trying to get that max extension contract, and he's older, so they're talking about, is he actually going to be traded and things like this? Will they be able to actually pay for these people and then also be able to actually afford the younger people? I don't think they should be a salary cap. You should be able to pay or play for anyone who's willing to pay you. Anyway, so you have the situation where they're talking about that, and then Draymond Green was asked about this, and he's like, oh, those early rumors that came out talking about this, it has nothing to do with money. And I'm like, wait. And other people in sports tried to say this as well. I don't know if it's like a machismo type of thing, like, oh, we don't like talking about other people's money. We don't talk about other people's pockets. I'm like, no, Draymond Green, if you're going into the media, and the people in the media themselves, you're constantly talking about performance of players. That is talking about their money because you're also going to talk about contracts and things like this. You can say you want to do it less, but if you talk about someone's performance, you are actually talking about their money. And this is kind of like a similar thing where people are like, with women, you're talking about, oh, we don't really care about the amount of money a man makes. No, you care. People understand that is important. That is an important part of life, of observing people. There is a value set to how much money somebody makes. Like that's a typical thing. Women are like, oh, I don't really care about money that much. I care about the personality. But then if a man doesn't do, oh, you're just a broke person. Like no. So there's that back and forth. Where I'm like, no, stop it. If you're talking about sports, if you're talking about professional sports players' abilities, you are talking about their money. You are concerned about your money, and that's okay. These are competitive people. They're working in this team. They're working in this supposedly great sports, great team, great place where people want to go and play. Kevin Durant was like, why didn't you leave? This is a good team. But also with Kevin Durant, he had an incident with Draymond Green. Very public incident in the NBA Finals. Draymond Green, as a person himself, he's known to be somebody who is rather boisterous, rather vociferous. He's been kicked out of the NBA Finals for flailing and kicking somebody and things like this. He's known as the enforcer on the team. Like Steph Curry is kind of like the silent babyface assassin. That's one of the nicknames I think has been out there with him. He's not known to be somebody who's like the loudest person. They've talked about how, oh, Draymond Green is the person on the team who kind of drives the heart and soul of the team. Like again, heart and soul, does this have to be heart and soul? Does it have to involve this kind of behavior, this kind kind of action and things like that. Not necessarily quite sure how that fits into the situation. But you have somebody who's older. Now he's getting to the end of his career. This is something that he's known. It's something that he's done for some time. You don't play for too long. I think the average NFL career is like 3 years long. And now with Tom Brady, he's kind of somebody who's on the outside of that thing, playing out until he's 45. But you don't necessarily have that in the NBA until. But some of the older players become like journeymen. They're just on the bench and to support and guide the team. They're not actually star players. I think LeBron James is like 37 or something. But it's not necessarily people. But wait. Speaking about Brady also has a thing where they call him Psycho Tom. There's the Psycho Tom part of him where he's very competitive, runs up in people's faces and things like this. So that whole aspect, it's not necessarily just NBA. And some of the coverage of this, what actually happened, what with the actual punch, it was a punch, it was violence. And then with the coverage, initial coverage, people were saying, oh, this happens. This is professional sports. This is a regular thing. I think even Steve Kerr was talking about how, I've had a past history, over the last decades or so, I've seen like maybe 40 or so fights and different things. This happens in practice, this happens. But I think it normally happens in a situation where if you're playing other teams and things like that, other teammates, but then when you're within, I guess when you're practicing, you're still playing against each other to train and things like this, so there's some tensions in that. But then you have a situation like with Steve Kerr. He was punched by Jordan before. Michael Jordan, best basketball player ever, and still competing in the LeBron James, people like back and forth in that. But anyway, so you have this situation, people saying, this happens. It's happened in the past. Like, you had Jordan do it, Kobe used to do this. I'm like, no. Just because people did things in the past doesn't mean you should still do it. If we say, in the past, coaches and owners are racist and they say all these things and they act all this way and you just accept that that's just the way things are. No, because we've had situations where Donald Sterling in the NBA, he had some leak of some content of him saying some racist things, and they said, he also had a racist background, but he kept the team, but said, no, this is a new time. He should be out. You have a situation where I think the Carolina Panthers owner said something about, we don't want the inmates running the asylum or something like that. No, you out. But we're supposed to be people more racist in the past. You have another thing where I think currently right now the Phoenix Suns owner is embroiled in some situation. You have some situations with sexism, like you have John Gruden from the Raiders leaked that he said something, emails came out, no, you can't act this way anymore. So we're not accepting things just because it happened in the past. So they can take away that already, that whole situation. This is something that happens. Is it okay? Is it okay to be violent in this situation? The professional sports are not the same as just a regular job. Draymond Green is doing this whole new media thing where he has a podcast, even during the NBA Finals, like right after the game, he'd go and give the post-game conference, and then he'd go into his hotel room or his home and then put on his podcast and start talking about things. He's gone on Inside the NBA with greats like Sir Charles, eating the churros, and Kenny Smith, forgetting who the other person is, Eddie something, and then Shaquille O'Neal. So he goes on there sometimes, and even I think he was injured during the season, he was on there. So he's outspoken. He's on The Volume, which is a podcast network by Colin Cowherd, who's one of the biggest sportscasters in the United States of America. So he has a platform. He's known. He's held up by general society, by the NBA, as one of their faces and things like this. He's a millionaire. Where did this actually happen? This was in the workplace. So you're saying this is in a private practice. This is in a different situation. I know it's not the same. Can you, it's a different sport. It's a different workplace. Like, can you imagine, like, maybe the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, like, after it comes to, like, not innocent, then all of a sudden they're out there, like, doing the gritty and things. Like, that's not, I don't know what other environments where you'd have the situation to celebrate in that way. So if you're celebratory for a certain behavior in a certain thing that's more expressive, I can also understand that the anger and the frustration, you might be more expressive as well. Like here I'm recording this in Nairobi, Kenya, and I think a year and a half ago, even in Parliament, there was a fight, people were throwing chairs. So you have this in some situations where there's some situations, but I think those people were censured. So what necessarily should happen in this situation? You have this private practice. The things come out. The video comes out. Now when the video comes out, people are starting to say, now it's different because the video is out. And now they're starting to research the person who leaked the video. That shouldn't have been done. Steve Kerr is coming out like, something that should have been held in-house. This is the sanctity of the locker room. Like, what sanctity of the locker room are you protecting? What kind of violence are you protecting? When Steve Kerr was very outspoken politically about Trump and other things like that, does he say, like the sanctity of the administration, like that when the leaks come out and things like this? No. When Donald Trump was having his locker room talk in that thing about grabbing by the what. Like, no, that's okay. You're not supposed to talk about, like, that's stuff that goes outside from what he's actually doing. I wish there was some consistency with that, because for me, I'm like, hey, these are professional athletes. They're there to actually play the sport. Like, if this has nothing to do with actually the ability to play the sport, you ask Jordan Poole, like, are you okay? This guy punched you. Are you still comfortable enough in this workplace to have him in there? And Jordan Poole's like, okay, yeah, whatever. Then you let him back with the team. In my estimation, if they can work that out, but some people have been covering it and be like, no, if this happens, every time I see this guy, we got to go. We got to go until I actually figure this out. But then you also have the situation where I'm like, okay, if this is something that's accepted in workplace violence, do they also look, these leagues that are supporting Black Lives Matter against police violence, do they also understand that in that field of policing, you're going into situations where people have guns, people have knives, there's cars on the roads, there's all kinds of danger in there. Is that a violent situation? Police are inherently enforcement agents. I don't like the current system with the policing, but I understand like that's something that's part of it. Do these people say, just like in NBA, just like in the NFL, violence is part of our sport, so we kind of have a different set of rules for them? This guy shows up to a scene, seeing a girl stabbing someone. What are you supposed to do in that situation? No. The NBA is like, no, we need to protest over this. So that kind of double standard there is, I don't necessarily understand what goes into this. LeBron James talking about, oh, I'm more concerned, I'm worried about my kids getting pulled over by cops. Like, no, LeBron, maybe you should be worried about your son joining an NBA team, because that seems to be a higher chance of being a black millionaire in the United States of America and being assaulted is by another black millionaire in a professional sports team. That seems to be one of the few fields where it's like, okay, this is something that's accepted. Is it accepted? And I've seen some people in the media, of course, push back on this, and I've seen majority of the people trying to make some kind of excuses for this that I don't necessarily really understand and agree and accept with. And I don't think there should be a difference with the video coming out and what was going to be done to Draymond Green after it. I don't think there should be a difference if a leak has come out about somebody saying something. I know these are public sports, they're not publicly traded companies, but these are entertainment companies. These are companies that have a public facing aspect of it. But how many other things have they been hiding? Because I think people in general understand, if somebody is valuable enough, you're going to let them get away with certain things. These are athletes. It's a common thing in culture, even in my own sporting history, not even being at the higher levels, seeing that these people are looked up upon as athletes. These people have the ability, especially when you start getting into college, when you start getting into professional leagues, the amount of money these people bring in. A lot of people can stand to make a lot of money off of these people. So they get allowed to do, the grades don't have to be as high. If they behave in certain ways, like things are kind of hidden out, there's all these scandals that keep coming out. I wish it was just leagues where it's like, let these people just get as roided up as possible. Let them focus just on playing sports and do that and all this thing. I'm okay with that kind of open. But then when they say there's morality, when they say there's rules, when they say there's just kind of things to kind of think about with these, I'm like, okay, where does it actually fit into this situation? So in my estimation, what was going on? And not my estimation, but my thoughts, my wonders. What is this whole situation? Do you think it makes sense that he did this? Like the whys of why he did this. You see in the video, it's this Draymond Green's kind of 5 yards away or 5 feet, then he walks up to him, he gets in his face, and then Jordan Poole pushes him, and then Draymond Green just reaches back and hits him, and Jordan Poole drops, and some people come in. So in the actual post-event type of conference, he came out and he apologized and he said, oh, like, I don't want to explain why I did that, because that would seem like I'm excusing what I did. And I'm thinking, is there really a why that's going to explain that it's okay for you to hit somebody? The push, is that push an initiation of violence? But let's say you had a situation where a policeman shows up to an incident that's been reported as violent already. He doesn't necessarily, the storage was full on the phone, the rant was going pretty well, I should have checked this before. But this is something that happens. People get full up. You don't necessarily understand that you get to a point and get to a tipping point. What is the tipping point for you? Have you ever gotten to a point where you fought somebody? I think Shannon Sharp was like, or some other people also said Jordan Poole should have understood, don't let somebody get in your airspace. But I don't think people at work jobs are thinking, hey, this person gets in my face, like he's going to punch me. This is a private practice in my workplace. I feel comfortable. These are my supposed family, friends, and people around me. And yet this guy's going to punch me. Draymond Green talks about, oh, that's like my little brother. Like, this is something with family. Like, this is an embarrassing situation to see for his family. I'm like, no, it's not embarrassing for his family. Why should it be embarrassing for his family to see that he's been assaulted by somebody, if that is actually what happened? Like, this is a situation, I don't care what are the words that people actually think. And this is the thing that I'm saying. If Jordan Poole was white and he had been punched this way, there is one word that people would have like, did he call him that? Is that why? But that shouldn't be accepted to punch somebody based off of a word. Like that, you shouldn't escalate to that point. Now it goes back with the punching, with the pushing. If the pushing is enough, if a cop shows up in a place and the criminal comes up in his face, should the cop be allowed to punch that person? Should the cop be allowed to tase that person? Should the cop be allowed to electrocute that person? If a woman comes up in somebody's face, should the man be allowed to punch this woman? Should be allowed to do these things? Like, what is that situation if you're saying that's a situation for violence to go? If a white woman calls a black man the N-word, is he supposed to punch this person? Like, if a white perp calls a black policeman the N-word, should the policeman just blast him, even if the perp hasn't done anything? So what is the situation where people say words are okay to do this? How do you deal with this? How do you get in a situation where Draymond Green comes out and he says, oh, this is family, this is my family? Who do you treat? What definition of family do you have with this? What sanctity of the locker room? Why are people saying this is something that happens? What are you telling us? Are you telling us that it's been a long time you guys have been protecting violent people, you've been protecting violence in your actual locker rooms? Is this something that you're encouraging? This maybe not encouraging, but is this part and parcel of this? Is this the way people play? Is this something that has to be continued? I don't necessarily understand how somebody can think of, well, I kind of do understand because there is a lot of violence, unfortunately. People have a lot of adverse childhoods. I'm trying to think of the mentality of the childhood that somebody would have to actually be able to just come out on national TV and say, yes, with family, this is something that I do with somebody that I love and care for. It's a tough situation. But yeah, those are my thoughts with this kind of mixed up with this kind of thing, trying to make some sense out of this. So what do you think? Do you think this is a black culture thing, a professional sports culture thing, an American culture thing? Or do you think this is just kind of a common thing where certain people get away with certain things as long as they're valuable enough in a certain field? Or is this just something that's kind of accepted? Am I making too much about this? What did you think about this? Did your mindset change if you've actually heard about it before? And then when you saw the video, do you think there should be differences between people knowing about what's happening versus something actually having happened? Because as I'm saying, the Golden State Warriors knew exactly what Draymond did. They know more about Draymond. Maybe they know more about why it excuses him to actually do this, besides just winning the championships and putting those things up in the rafters, making those millions of dollars for the team and for the area and things like that. Besides that, I think they might know more about him personally that make them think that it's okay for him to behave this way, or I don't necessarily know. This is just my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe. Links below for all kinds of other content and other things. And yeah, until next time, goodbye.